doing a little intro. We got our banner up here. Oh, and we're live.
And we're live.
I like how that song just cuts off. Hey folks, welcome back to the Health and Wealth edition of the Gambit Stratagem podcast. I'm Andrew Essig.
I'm John Gramlich. Happy to be here.
We're back.
Took a hot break.
Yeah, and I said I was going to schedule these out. I did actually schedule it out, but also updated our streaming software. So I think somewhere in the mix there, it was like,
no thanks.
Yeah, we're not doing that. So I apologize if you're not able to see this on your normal streaming platform. I will upload it to our podcast platforms and stuff, and it'll be elsewhere. But so little in our intro here, I was thinking we like to start a lot of our meetings and stuff with like bright spots, like things that are going well. I love it also that we keep doing this when Joel is training and just slamming barbells. I don't know if that's coming through the microphone, but
you definitely hear it, at least on our end. What's your bright spot?
My bright spot is I've been implementing a few. Man, I had this really thought out extremely well in my head at 3:00 this morning when I was lying awake in bed for no reason, and it's gone. I have been implementing some small things. I think that like this podcast, by the way, is like, I think we started this to I want to be clear that we're not trying to say like, hey, we have all the answers and listen to us. I think this is primarily for Gambit gym members, but also anyone else out there that's listening. Of course, you're welcome. But I think it's more about like kind of taking the journey together. Like I want to start bringing some information to the table. We might have some guests on, and we'll just like hopefully learn some things, and we'll be health and wealth focused. Today's a little more health focused, I think. I have I attended a wedding this weekend, and I regret nothing.
Excellent. Okay.
I've been known for leaving little Easter eggs at weddings.
Okay.
Some more devastating than others, I think, in the past, and so it was a small victory to go. I also didn't drink at the wedding. I had a couple sips of Kelly's drinks. I've been really cutting back on the alcohol, and I'm back on my supplement routine. I've been taking some cold showers, and feeling really good with my overall balance of health. Not so much wealth, but health.
Yeah, I agree.
Really good on the health side.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. I'm feeling...
Get up in your mic a little more.
I'm feeling pretty darn good on the health side of things.
Yeah, feel free to hold it.
We're just going to hold it because I don't want to cover the screen.
Yeah.
I'm in my last week of wearing my super awesome compression garment post-surgery, and that's going well, and been back to exercising, and I did an in-body yesterday. And, of course, a couple things, changed and whatnot as I figured they would after not exercising for 5 weeks. But for the most part, everything's pretty much the same, which is kind of what you want after, procedure. So feeling pretty good about that. Glad to be moving again and just exercising, because that's been
did you work out today? When was your first workout?
First workout was last week.
Okay.
Yeah. Just kind of been doing
easy
3 times a week, maybe 4, and
taking it kind of easy
by whatever feels good. But
I thought about you. I watched Prometheus the other day. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah. With
the alien film.
And they removed
the egg. Yeah, she has to climb into a medical.
That's literally it. That's actually it.
Give herself a cesarean to remove an alien, and then she immediately starts just doing action things, and you're like, I don't think
It's not quite how it works.
Those staples would be all over the floor.
All over the floor. All over the floor. But that actually is a decent.
Yeah.
Except kind of how it works. You do like
for the cesarean, they would have cut through the muscle and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's out there climbing around, punching thing. Like at one point, somebody punches her in the gut, and you're just like, "Come on,
come on." That's not how that works.
She'd be her intestines would be all over the ground,
split in half.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, also taking a break on the drinking side of things too, and just been like reminding myself of, gosh, that's nice when you just sleep a lot better and you just feel better. And
I've been, I'm trying to, I follow Andrew, multiple people. One of my favorites is Andrew Huberman, this really sciencey guy that I feel like is definitely in the, like the zeitgeist or whatever very much now. I think he's been on Rogan's podcast all over the place. But so I get these little tidbits of stuff from him on Instagram and Reddit and wherever. And then I was like, I'm going to start listening to his podcast, like the full podcast. And I've been researching and reading about water. I've been thinking about doing like a whole water filtration unit or something at the house, just because I don't trust the people that say like, oh, city water's fine. I don't believe you.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
And in my research has confirmed no city water is good for you. I'm sorry. Like, none.
City water's garbage.
Filter it wherever you are, whoever you are. Drink filtered water. That's what. But I watched a 2+ hour podcast of one man sitting and looking into a camera and reading about science. Was bored to tears, and I can sum it up and tell you: filter your water. He covers a lot of different stuff. So
you watched the whole 2 hours?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're just committed to the water cause.
So that's going to be part of my mission with this podcast is like I'm going to disseminate information.
Yes.
I'm going to boil it down, keep it really simple.
Boil like water.
See what I did? Yeah, that couldn't possibly reference anything else. So, yeah, there's tons of other stuff, and one of the things so I saw this in this clip that I had pulled up that we can't get the audio to work for as an Instagram post, but I follow this Instagram account called I think Time Investors or something, and it's really hit or miss. Like it's like the clip I was going to play was a guy talking about how much sugar is in some of the most popular Starbucks drinks.
Oh my gosh.
The next clip is about a guy who's been drinking his own urine for 20 years.
Okay.
And he looks great, and he's like, I get as much sun as I can. I put the urine on my skin when I go out into the sun, and I'm like,
I didn't need that.
No.
Yeah, no.
Dude. So there's a lot of...
I immediately smell him.
So I'm like, that's disgusting.
Yeah, no thank you.
So point being, there's a lot of wacko stuff out there.
Yeah.
And you can obviously go listen to the entire 2+ hour podcast and hear about water. But some of the stuff that I found interesting that I've seen on accounts like this, Time Investors, are like water with high hydrogen content. You can get devices that will like boost or add hydrogen to your water. There's obviously like a whole host of filtration. Like you can go way up the ladder on filtration. Like a charcoal filter is pretty, like a Brita is kind of the pitcher is like the simplest thing. There's whole home filters. There's a guy, what did he call it? Like mother water or something. He's got a rod. It's a glass rod with water in it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this water took 1 year to make, whatever the process is. And it's in this rod. And he's like, he's like, this is going to blow your mind. He's stirring a pitcher of water. He's like, this is going to change the chemical structure of the water and make it healthier. Just 20 seconds of me stirring. And I'm like, he's not adding anything to the water, right?
Okay.
He's got mother water, and it's in a glass rod. So it's not making any physical contact with the other water.
Okay. And
he's claiming that it's changing the chemical structure of the water, and it's so much better for you, and everyone should be doing this.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm no scientist, but that seems insane.
Yeah. It's not. I was gonna say it's making no contact. How is it changing? Is it permeating the glass?
I'd have to go back and really break down. I didn't want to make this whole episode about water, but I thought it was really good to like start the episodes with some anecdotal, tips and tricks.
My takeaway is
Huberman kind of kept putting an asterisk on that whole realm of like, if you believe that this does that, it's kind of like maybe,
Right.
but we don't really, there's no science to indicate
Right.
that does in fact. And the whole thing summed up is like, at a very base level, you can,
Filter
for
your
like
water.
a couple $1,000s, you can get a whole home filtration unit. You can get a tabletop like Brita or something like that. Or, we have a pretty good filter, I think, in our fridge. And I won't drink anything else. It's either, people that know me know I'm pretty big into like Liquid Death. I think until I hear otherwise, I think that's a fairly healthy source of water. I've heard bad things about like brands like LaCroix and some of the other ones that they can have high content.
Whatever.
Yeah. Do your research, find out if your favorite brand is good for you or not. But I kind of got off LaCroix and got onto Liquid Death for that reason, and then
But also, if you're drinking soda every day, LaCroix still better alternative.
probably.
So
yeah.
like not shitting on LaCroix.
Yeah.
Still drink sparkling water over soda any day.
Yeah, and then even when I travel, it's like I go out of my way. Even if we go to visit family or something, I know if there's not filtered water available, I'm gonna go run to the store and grab some, like a jug of bottled water or something. And I don't know. I think that's one of those things that I'm not necessarily gonna feel better every day, but long term, I think it'll affect aging. I mean, one of the things is like fluoride that's been commonly really put in municipal water supplies has been shown to be a neurotoxin. Like it does, in fact, clean the water, but it's also a neurotoxin and makes people less intelligent. And you're like, oh, okay. Like you can extrapolate that out to your own.
There's a 2-hour podcast we'll link somewhere.
You can make your own conclusions about that.
Yeah.
But I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So did I put... Well, that's our video we're not going to watch. I was just going to pull up our 10 components of fitness, which is our topic for the day.
There you go. Ba-doop.
Yeah, can I make that full screen? Can I just make that... Whatever. We'll figure it out. Get close. There's a picture of Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Kramer. He looks great. Had the hair on that guy. As a bald person,
Hair game is strong.
I'm envious.
Hair game is strong.
Yeah, so 10 components of fitness, or 10 physical skills. This was outlined, it says right here, in 2002, in an article from CrossFit, in an article from me, or vice versa, in an article from me, in an article from CrossFit.
There you go.
Yeah, if you're a member, this will be posted in the Gambit members group. It'll probably, a link to it will go out in the newsletter as well. And we're going to kind of talk through it additionally. So, yeah, this was defined way back in 2002, and it's kind of one of those things that's like from the early days of CrossFit, I think is just as accurate and meaningful today as it was then. And I think like the kind of note that I made that I think is important is why it's important to talk about this is thinking about it, I'm like, have social media and more modern fitness trends kind of alienated us from what true fitness or athleticism is? Because, people kind of out there in the fitness world will kind of knock on CrossFit because we tend to not look like bodybuilders,
right?
Unless you're at the most elite level. And I think at its most pure intent, that is how it should be.
Right.
If you are bodybuilding and supplementing and whatever, it's kind of like false fitness. Like I am not a great example.
It's a different definition.
I was never a bodybuilder, but I used to train like a bodybuilder. And at one point I peaked at 230-ish pounds and I got winded walking up the stairs to go to my apartment on the second story or third story, whatever it was. Not a long distance. And I was like, I remember thinking like the guys on the covers of magazines and stuff were like that. I was like, I want to look like that guy. I'm going to eat like a bodybuilder and train like one. And then getting winded going up a flight of stairs. Like, I'm not like fit. You might look like Superman, but you are not.
No. Yeah.
And
you're
again,
not balanced.
Not me specifically, but the people that look like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of quickly gave up that dream. So when you see like a games athlete who looks like they could potentially, you're like, some of those guys, you're like, you could do a small cut and walk on a bodybuilding stage. You're super jacked. They had to earn that through the correct pathway, and they are extremely, what you may overlook a lot of times is that is an extremely well-balanced, generally healthy individual. Obviously, they're at the sport. They're on the far side of the wellness, sickness, wellness continuum, and they are kind of pushing beyond wellness into a potentially injury-laden zone. But as we look through the 10 components of fitness, which they are, we'll read off really quick. The 10 general physical skills, they are cardiovascular and respiratory endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility, power, coordination, agility, balance, and accuracy. And I think, this is, we want to talk about this because I think it's important to remember, like, not only in your life, but in the gym specifically, why we are training the way we are, and
and how you measure it. Like, I think
as you measure
it's
it,
very easy. To your point about social media, it's very easy to be a consistent gym goer. You come to a CrossFit class 3 to 4 times a week, and you pull up Instagram or Facebook and see all these pictures of these perfectly curated images and go, "Gosh, like I exercise and I eat well. Why don't I look like that?" But it's like that's not the metric.
That guy looks
that's
super
not the metric.
fit, and he's got horrible lower back problems.
Right. That's not the metric we're looking at
or
here.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just kind of touch on each of these, and so cardiovascular / respiratory endurance, the ability of the body's system to gather, process, and deliver oxygen. I think it'll be cool to relate these into everyday life. Like, put simply, like, Kelly and I have moved a couple times, and the last time we moved, we hired movers, which was amazing. Highly recommend that. But we did it ourselves previously, and it was just like, I fully know what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
Strength and endurance wise, and I know we can do this.
Right.
And I remember our realtor came to visit us like the next day after we moved, and he was like, "Oh, you guys are like in."
Yeah, we
like,
moved.
You're in. And you're like, yeah. We spent all day, like, we moved the.
I mean, heck.
Moved the washer and dryer up to the second floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sucked, but it was like, yeah, I'm breathing heavy, but at no point am I like, oh, I'm in uncharted territory here.
I mean, hell, when I moved to my house 2.5 years ago, I asked like 4 friends from CrossFit here, guys, gals, and we rented a truck, put everything in the truck, and I think I told the guy, I was like, if you can get the truck back to us in 90 minutes, it's only like $15 or something. And so I was like, all right, can we do this? And we did it, and it was just people were tired, but then we went to lunch afterwards. Like, all right, good job, guys. That's great.
Yeah. And to build, and and that's not, a lot of that's more about strength and agility, perhaps, but like, I think the cardiovascular component of that is important because I've had times where I'm like, I've had to run somewhere with through an airport or whatever, and it's just like, you just know
you'll be fine.
You don't have to like wonder what's going to happen when you do this. You're like, no, I'm carrying this bag. Like, I've done this with a barbell.
Yeah,
I've run down the street with a barbell.
Yeah.
And depending on who you talk to, I'd say, to put it in layman terms, cardio training is generally considered to be a movement you can do that elevates your heart rate and your breathing, but does not require a large amount of focus.
Yeah.
So something that's like easily repeatable. So like a lot of times I'll lump like jump rope or burpees into the cardio category, but that's kind of not necessarily true for everyone. When you're at the kind of higher level of training, or like for somebody like Joel or Kelly that's like a competitive athlete, burpees can definitely be a cardio exploration. But for your average individual, there's probably a lot more focus required.
Yeah.
So would not count. And then stamina, the ability of body systems to process, deliver, store, and utilize energy. And I think part of this component too is that recovery piece, which I highlighted to somebody the other day as I have gotten older. It's like when I got close to 40, probably like in my late 30s. In my mid 30s, I still felt pretty solid. But getting into my late 30s, I noticed the recovery piece, and I mean short-term recovery, especially like when you have a workout with built-in rest. I can come out for, the other day we did a workout, it was like 4 rounds, something sprinty with a 2-minute rest or whatever. Do 2 rounds, pretty solid, hanging with hanging with the top 3 in the class or whatever. Third round,
Oh, boy.
but 20 or 30% slower. Fourth round, 100% slower. Like, you know,
Not a chance.
doubled my first. Like the wheels completely fell off, and
Yeah.
I was like, I misjudged this workout.
How this was gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just go off of feel, and I think that's part of it is like your stamp that kind of like, what is your body doing with that 2-minute rest
Yeah.
versus the next person, and that's something Kelly's always been extremely good at. What was one of her strengths as an athlete was just that short-term recovery piece.
Yeah,
And
cardio and stamina. Or respiratory endurance and stamina. Not my 2 faves.
Yeah, not our favorite of the two.
Not our favorite of the
As taller athletes.
Yeah, no.
Flexibility though, here's where you come in.
Yeah. Well, is strength before?
Oh, I did
There we
skip
go.
strength. There we go. Here's where you come
I was
in.
like, these 2, let's go, baby.
Again, here's where you come in.
I quite like these 2.
Strength defined as the ability of a muscular unit or a combination of muscular units to apply force. How much you bench, bro?
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't write a long description on that one because there's not a lot to it. I mean, it's kind of everybody. I think everybody can conceptualize strength.
Yep.
Pretty easily. But again, that's like, you know, moving always seems to be the clearest, easiest comparison to make. But it's like, you know, someone will ask me to help them move something, and I'm like, well, how much does it weigh?
Right.
Like, well, I don't know. And it's like, okay, well, we can give it a quick deadlift and do a weight check.
Right.
And you kind of estimate, and then you're just like, all right, well, this is going to, and you can
And
kind of
know if you get your hands under it and lift it up, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I can move that, or like,
yeah,
not a chance.
that's probably like 150 pounds.
Yeah,
like, that's
I can do that. It's
That's
a
a one.
sandbag.
That's a 1-person lift.
Yeah.
Or like, okay, that's a 2-person.
That's hefty.
And you can kind of organize and brace and like
Uh-huh.
mentally prepare your body like that. That makes such a huge difference. I was explaining this to the master's class the other day. It's like you can't do like a 10 rep max back squat without thinking about it. And that's
Oh,
where that,
yeah.
that cardio piece comes in. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
it's important for cardio to be like almost a thought-free process, where strength is very much the opposite. It's a short period of time, and you need to really think about it, and your whole body needs to be on board. Flexibility, the ability to maximize the range of motion at a given joint. And I refer to it as an often overlooked component of fitness because, you know, we get people all the time that say they want more stretching in class. And I'm like, you say that, but you're not going to like it.
Yeah, you're not gonna like.
You're not gonna
Ask
show up.
Anybody that comes to my 5:30 or 6:45 class.
If we put in the programming that we're doing half of the class is a workout and then we're spending 30 minutes stretching, people will just leave. People will come and do the 30-minute workout and just leave.
Yep.
Because it's not fun. It's not the glamorous side of things. But as I pointed out, and as you are, I would say, a piece of evidence towards having good mobility can equate to a better split jerk or
Oh yeah.
handstand walking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
better,
because
better balance, body awareness.
Yeah, because when you joined, you weighed
When
more than somebody that I would guess is good at handstand walking.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I weighed probably about the same I weigh now, but
Yeah.
when I joined, I'm sure it was like okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've fluctuated is all.
Correct.
I
Yeah,
don't-
correct.
all that just to say, I don't know where you're at or where you've
What are
been.
you trying to say? I'm just kidding.
You did a bodybuilding show.
I've been all over.
You've
Who
been all
knows?
over
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But yeah, and I mean, I think flexibility too. Again, I think people think of it as that it needs to be like a big grand thing, and it's like, no, you can improve your flexibility with like 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
It's just making it an intentional 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. And so I was trying to see if I guess I'm at full zoom.
My biggest, I think, or my favorite thing about having good mobility and flexibility is like injury prevention. I feel like you're very in tune with knowing like, oh, that feels right, or oh, that feels like it's not supposed to move that way.
Yeah, I mentioned joint health and reduce general pain and inflammation because that's exactly what I experience. Is like when my knees hurt, I just have tight quads.
Right.
Like I'll have legit. Sometimes I thought at one point I was going to have to go have like surgical intervention. Like my knee was hurting pretty bad. And I just kind of kept training through it. This was years ago. But I went and saw a guy at Logan University, a chiropractor, and he's like a former gymnast, competitive gymnast. And he was like, yeah, man, your quads are just super tight.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we x-rayed, everything's great. You just really need to stretch. He's like, probably 4 or 5 times a day, get into the couch stretch the crap out of them. And pain went away within 3 days.
I mean, heck, even
it's crazy.
Even this past 4 weeks, my knees have started hurting because I just haven't been moving as much, and my quads and legs have been tight. Once I started moving, I just did like a sled pull push the other day just to move. Yeah. Legs felt great. Just getting them going again.
And that's wild. Part of we could talk on that all day, but that's part of why I really like that Athletic Truth Group stuff, the knees over toes guys, because it's kind of like the catchphrase, the like hashtag I've been assigning to it myself is strengthen and lengthen, because it's like a lot of those movements are doing a very deep range of motion. Like the knee over toe lunge is a great example where you're like, yeah, you're kind of lunging and squatting, but you're trying to take the knee, the hip, and the ankle all to like the ultimate end range of motion, and you're strengthening. And like I don't feel like if I do those in a warm-up, like I don't feel like I need to do any stretching or anything. Like I'm ready to get under a barbell and squat.
We had a guy today. We did knee over toe lunges in our warm-up before box jumps and jump rope and everything, and he was like, "What?" He was dropping. He's like, "What is this?" But afterwards, was like, "I loved that," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's great." He just had no idea that it was something so simple that he just never even thought to do. Yeah,
super intentional. I got to coach class. Thanks. No, right now, just a reminder that in 30 minutes. Power. The ability of a muscular unit or a combination of muscular units to apply maximum force in minimum time. That is, I just always think of football. Like, you know, short, super intense. Yeah, those guys are just, they're power athletes and they train for power. And it's kind of like the explanation I use too is like, yeah, most people can jog 400 meters. But how fast, can you do a sub 60-second 400 meter? Like,
output?
That's the difference between power. And then speed. And again, like, it's easy to understand this in the concept of running. If power is your ability to cover a distance quickly, like 400 meters, like speed is just your top speed. The ability to minimize the cycle time of a repeated movement, and that could be on a barbell too or dumbbells, but. Have you seen those videos where guys will try to run for a very small amount of time at the world record marathon pace?
On those big like treadmills that are like bouncy and stuff. Because they either get off or they fall. Yeah, it's great.
Because it's the pace is like a 5:20 or something
it's
mile
wild.
pace. I think I timed, and granted, we were outside, and I don't remember how I measured it, but I'm sure it wasn't entirely accurate. But I think the best mile I ever ran was like in a neighborhood, and it was in the 5:20s, and I was dying from one. Like that was my peak physical performance, and I think
we had a mile test in like 8th grade, and I remember I ran a mile under 6 in 8th grade, but when I was playing basketball and running every day. That's all I could do, but it.
And you were in 8th grade.
And in 8th grade. You just
made out of magic.
Yeah, it's wild.
That was my
nothing.
I think
you
a
could
comedian.
Bounce back. Your recovery was great then.
Yeah.
Didn't matter.
Some comedian said it, I think, and it just stuck in my head. It's like, you're made out of magic and rubber. I'm like,
that's rubber so true, specifically. Yeah.
Coordination. And this is where it gets, I think, as we get into the last, 4 or 5 here? The 4. This is the stuff that people don't think about because it can be more difficult to measure, and it's not what you don't see it on social media. Well, you do sometimes, but it's people doing the really stupid stuff. Like if I get one more video of a guy doing a push-up with a couch on his back, or a
single leg squat holding a barbell over it, like, what are you doing? That's just not. Why?
I mean, I'll take that any day over the guy that deadlifts on a skateboard with chains all over it. Like, dude, what are you doing, man?
That's just dumb.
And I don't even care. Like, hey, you're gonna blow an ACL or something. But like, why are you're encouraging other people? Because the guy's a really good lifter. Like, he's very legit. But it's like, you're just encouraging someone out there to try this, and they're gonna get hurt. And there's plenty of videos of that. I watched some guy. he was doing? He had a safety squat bar, I think, on his back, and it had chains on it or something. And then he was trying to deadlift something in addition to it. And of course, nothing's clipped on or whatever. Something tips off and a chain slides off this side. And then the thing too, and those safety bars have like a big handle on them. So the handle catches his neck and just rips him down to the floor. And dude, see what you did, skateboard guy?
Yeah, good job. Good job.
So anyway, coordination is the ability to combine several distinct movement patterns into a singular distinct movement. Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
Difficult to learn. And that's just, man, it's just good for your brain synapses. Like that's,
I know, it seems, you think about a snatch, it seems so simple. Okay, start on the floor and end with this overhead.
yeah.
Okay, fine. In one movement. Okay, what?
Yeah. And it sounds crazy, but, and maybe it doesn't sound crazy, but I think of little dumb stuff when I try to like relay this or relate this to people. It's like, say you're walking up somewhere and there's a 3-foot or a 4-foot fence and you want to get to the other side. It's like, can you vault over? Can you put your hands on that swing? And you're like, you see the most good viral videos. I didn't even say most. A lot of good viral videos are older people who used to be able to do a thing who think they can still do a thing.
And then cannot.
Like
In fact, they cannot.
This 50-year-old who's like, I was a gymnast 30 years ago. And it's like, well, you're not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
And I feel like that's where like stuff like coordination and agility come into play. Where you're like,
I mean, I'm only 31, but every year I'm always like, can I still do a back handspring? I want to be able to do a back handspring. Like I like that. And in my mind, and so far I've never had a moment where I'm like, no.
I was,
again,
I was in an airport recently, and I was trying to make a connection. It was somewhere our flight got delayed, and I had a pretty short connection already. And I'm on the motorized walkway, and then realized the motorized walkway goes another 100 feet or something, and my target, terminal is right there to the left, and I can see the other people from my plane like trying to figure out. You kind of like recognize people, and they're all swarming around. And
your thought was like, I can just hop over.
I was like, I'm like, I've been sitting on a plane for 2.5 hours. I woke up, didn't work out. I'm coming back from Arkansas or somewhere. I'm tired. I'm ice cold. Can I vault over this thing? Yes, I can.
Right. No question.
And I could see people just like,
oh no,
what?
Yeah.
Like what? And he's like, it was not an impressive physical feat in the scheme of things, but the general population that is so out of shape and useless at physical activity was, you could tell people were floored. They're probably still talking about it.
I'm sure. This guy in the airport, you never believe it.
One of the security guards is still there talking to somebody about it.
I never saw.
I saw a couple months ago. I saw this. I saw some guy vault right over this thing with a backpack on.
Crazy.
Agility, the ability to minimize transition time from one movement to another. And I think my favorite gym example of that is probably a burpee box jump over. Just like that ability to like string those. Kind of a burpee's already pretty like coordination or agility.
And then to add
focused,
another,
and then the rotation and the whole kind of thing. That's one of those movements where
even today we just have box jump overs in the class today, but I think it was interesting to watch folks just get in a good rhythm and just like, the more comfortable you get, the more agility you kind of execute in a sense. And
that's one of those things we'll talk about in the gym where it's like you're still in charge of your own safety. Like sometimes you introduce like a box jump and people just think, oh, I'm just going to hurl myself. And it's like, all right, hold on, pump the brakes. You're 40 years old. When was the last time you jumped on anything?
Right.
Let's
not
slow this down.
Yep.
Just because it's written in the workout doesn't mean.
You're in this for the long game here.
This isn't, what are the places where there's all the trampolines and foam pits?
Oh,
and
it's
just kind of like
jump zone.
Come in and hurl your body. Like everything is soft and safe. Like just hurl your body around.
Doesn't matter.
This isn't that.
This is not that. The floor is hard.
The box is hard.
The box is hard too.
Some of the boxes are hard. And balance. Ooh, I've been making the master's class like start most days with some balance, like scales, and they hate it. But
I'm sure
it's
they hate it.
Insane. If you've never done a scale, it's pretty much just like a forward scale. It's just sticking your arms out to the sides, standing tall and raising one leg straight out in front of you and just holding it. And that is like a really tall order for some people. Yeah, of all ages, but to hold it for like 30 plus seconds, I mean, it's tough. Even if you're, again, I thought I was really fit, and then CrossFit threw scales on the main site workout, and I was like, oh, this is dumb. And then I was like, okay, and I forget what the workout was, but it was like accumulate some large, like 5 minutes in a forward scale, and it was like a 20-minute workout of scales.
Oh, geez.
It was like 3 to 5 minutes of on each leg forward, and then like if you go backwards, you like lean over, so you're like kind of like an airplane, like one leg sticks straight back, and your shoulders are burning, your glutes are burning, and the whole time you're like twitching, and your hips are just on fire. It's a phenomenal exercise. And yeah, the masters group saw extreme results very quickly. They were just like, they still say, oh, I'm so bad at this. I'm like, you guys, 70% of you couldn't hold this for 10 seconds when we started. Now we're doing 30 seconds without even thinking about it.
I feel like a more advanced example of both balance and then also like the 10th component of accuracy is the wall walk today too. That's a newer movement in the last few years, and that is fascinating to watch how effective it is.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, this is easy. You just, it's like, no. You're pushing yourself up. Every step you take closer to the wall is a different, level of balance, and and
body awareness
and awareness and flexibility,
and you start to get tired, and your midline gives out, and then you can't get then your belly hits the wall, but your hands aren't where they need to be, and then you fall over.
You just flail,
like
fall
me,
flat.
Been there many times. And then accuracy, and this one's probably, I'd say this one gets maybe the least amount of attention in most CrossFit movements, just because it's like, I mean, that's why the accuracy is why I love to have the basketball hoop, the mini basketball hoop up in the gym, or like little dumb games, because I just love I love doing that stuff.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
not
the hoops back too.
It's not always like super physically taxing, but it's just like that repetition, kind of just getting in tune with that light touch. But like a wall ball is probably one of the most accurate examples in as far as CrossFit exercises go. The ability to control movement in a given direction or at a given intensity.
Is it double under accuracy or coordination, or like?
I mean both.
Both.
That's kind of the beauty of it. Is a lot of these movements, but for sure.
I guess accuracy would be the crossover too, and coordination. Yeah. But a crossover is a good example too.
And both of those are good examples, because you have to, I think what I wrote is like, the accuracy in the easy way to conceptualize is like thinking of an external device, like a ball, or any kind of ball sport comes to mind, because it's like you constantly have to gauge, all right, if I throw this hard, like where is it going to go, how far is it going to go? If I throw a little bit harder, am I going to lose that accuracy? Even like golf, it's like you're trying to hit a certain distance and be accurate at the same time. And the wall ball is one of the most clear depictions of that, I would say, in CrossFit. Just because like you got to be fairly precise, and it's one of those things that doesn't seem that precise when you look at it, but as with many things, when you're very fatigued and your muscles are tired,
the target starts looking farther and farther away. Yeah.
And then you how many times do you see somebody throw that medicine ball up and it just
doesn't touch anything?
Air ball come back down.
And right back down.
Yeah. And those are our 10 components of fitness.
Which is your favorite?
Accuracy.
Really?
Yeah. I love anything that second is probably strength or power. Probably power.
I was going to say power is mine, or like or balance.
I like sprinting. I love stuff like burpee box jumps,
sprint.
But I love them.
I'm not fast, but I like a sprint.
Yeah, I love them if you're like, hey, we're doing multiple rounds of 10 burpee box jump overs, like for time. Like I just have to sprint through and be as efficient as I can. If you're like, we're doing 100 burpee box jump overs for time, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I'd rather see 10 rounds of 10 with rest.
Yes, agreed.
Built in.
Love those. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, I always said I would have been a much better CrossFit team athlete than individual athlete, because I can go out and be super fast,
and then someone
for
else
a short
does
period
work,
of time,
and then I'm just hanging out. Yep.
Yeah, and you especially, because you just got to show up and be that key weightlifter or that key
random
that
party
linchpin,
trick. Yeah.
Yeah, that linchpin handstand walker.
The
You're just
random
like,
thing. It's like, what?
it's like, well, this is going to be a really tough event, but it's okay because everything hangs on John's handstand walks.
Which is fine. That's fine. That's the one thing
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll go upside
and
down
you
any
go
day.
out, pirouette, walk over the parallel bars.
What do you need me to do?
Yeah, so in terms of CrossFit programming is broad, general, and inclusive. Daily workouts at Gambit, at least, I can only speak to our gym specifically, but we'll develop hopefully all 10 of these skills. It says in equal measure. I'm going to say mostly equal measure. The best illustration I've seen is like where it's like, here's your fitness as a dot in the middle, and then you've got all the 10 components of fitness, and it kind of forms a almost like a spider web.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you should be trying to move these points out and expand your fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, usually we've got strength and power way up here, cardio a lot of times up here, and then, balance is the ones that are like tucked in a little tighter. So, and again, that's to summarize and reiterate, like that's one of the reasons I thought this would be great to talk about is just that, I think a lot of people lose sight of that. They're focused on we talk about this in programming. It's like, we know we have members that want to just bench press and squat, and they hate the burpees and all this other stuff. And I would just say, like, yeah, we're going to cater to you as much as possible. But also, you're in a CrossFit gym for that reason.
We have an obligation to make you well-rounded,
Yeah.
to make you do things that you're uncomfortable with.
And I think that
Inclusive is important. Inclusive does not necessarily mean it's going to be comfortable all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people get hung up on that. They're trying to build muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to chase that social media dream or whatever of, looking a certain way or having their shirts fit a certain way or whatever. And I've been as guilty of that as anyone.
Oh yeah.
But
same.
Again, a lot of my topics hinge around the fact that I'm at a pivotal age point.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just turned 40, and it's like, yeah, part of you keeps thinking like, I got to get back to snatching 250 and I got to get, and it's like, no, I don't care.
Right.
I'm just happy. I had some elbow issues, and I'm like, I'm just happy to be snatching again and doing anything. And I still got to do some maintenance on it to keep it in check. And I'm happy that I don't have back pain, and I don't need to see the chiropractor every single week, and I can still go out and lift heavy and do everything I want to do. Mm-hmm. And feel good. And that was like, part of my bright spot we opened with is I'm like finding that balance of caloric intake and activity level. Cause I was definitely in a cycle before of like, just add more.
Mm-hmm. More is better.
And I was trying to compete and be super fit. So it kind of made sense and it kind of worked. And I was eating to fuel activity. And now it's like, when you need
a different goal. Yeah.
You need to slow down a little bit. And that's so much harder, I think, for a lot of people, and myself especially, to where there was nothing more fun than doing a really brutal Saturday morning 3-hour, come in, do the Metcon, take a little rest, do a bunch of weightlifting, do some accessory work, maybe do another EMOM, train with the games athletes, and then go just pound a ridiculous brunch with pancakes and everything, because you're like, well, I trained super hard, I gotta get these carbs.
Yeah.
And that was so fun, and it's hard to give that up.
Yeah.
But that's just not the reality.
Nope.
I got better things to do with my time.
Mm-hmm. Ain't that the truth?
So John, thanks as always for joining. That is
great. I enjoyed that.
I've been Andrew Essick. This has been John Gramlich.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm trying to
Goodbye.
stay organized with my keystrokes here.
Nice.
We got to make sure we hit all the banners and
The
everything.
pop-ups and now the song.
Yeah, check this out. As always, it's on YouTube. It's going to live on Facebook, I believe, and then I'll be uploading it to Anchor FM, which should pipe directly over to Spotify and iTunes. So
Cool.
Check us out in all of those locations. Thanks for watching and or listening, and we will see you next time.